Greetings and salutations, this is Emperor Vespasian and his trusty sidekick.
Hello.
Today we're taking a look at the Polish 7TP, which was the standard tank of the Polish military. It's a light tank. It's got two versions. One version is this one with the anti-tank turret and a machine gun, and you've got this version with two machine guns fitted to it. A copy of the Vickers type twin-turreted tank. So yeah, basically very small light tanks. However, they were the main battle tank of the Polish army, and given the standard tanks of the German army, they were pretty good.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, most of the German army, half the German army was made up of armoured cars with a 20mm cannon, which will give you +2 in bolt action for armour penetration. These are Polish tanks. They have an anti-tank gun mounted on them, giving them a +4 in anti-tank. So these will outgun and outfight your Germans, generally. However, we have used them against the Russians, and it's pretty 50-50 with the Russians.
Yeah, unless I get bigger tanks against them. Because I only have BT7s. It's funny because these are called 7TP. It's 7 versus 7.
Well, it's the Mark 7 tank. Yeah, so, pretty good tanks. They're actually decent. They saw their first real combat in Slovakia when they invaded Slovakia at the same time as the Germans did. They nicked a few kilometres of the Slovak border and made them part of Poland. They also fought in northern Ukraine, a little bit of fighting there, and then the Second World War, of course, which is the famous one when the Polish lost. But tank-wise, they're actually decent tanks, and if you're doing a Polish army, you're going to need some of these guys, because the Polish army really needs some tanks. That's where it lacks. The good thing about these is they're relatively cheap, so they're not going to put you back too much points. For a regular light tank, it will put you back 115 points. If you want it fitted just for machine guns, then it'll only cost you 80 points, which is pretty good going. In costing of tanks. It's cheaper than the Russian tanks.
It is. Because my T26 costs 100.
Yeah.
And you can only fire one turret at a time. That can fire two turrets at a time.
That's because your T26 carries a machine gun.
Machine gun and a anti-tank gun.
Yeah.
I keep getting how it's in my head, so that everything's happening. I don't know why.
So these guys have the anti-tank gun fitted. That's a good thing because it gives it anti-tank ability. But it also has a machine gun, and if you're taking infantry on, it's usually a good idea to have your fire the machine gun instead of the main gun, because then it gives you 4 dice against infantry, which is quite good going.
In close range.
In close range, yeah. Although it might seem silly getting a tank that only carries 2 machine guns, if you think carefully, if you think carefully about it, that's 8 dice against enemy infantry. So that's pretty good going, if you think about it.
Unless you roll bad dice like this guy over here.
Yeah, but I'm just the same. A lot of early war tanks tended to be sort of basically machine gun carriers, and the reason for that was a tank is immune to enemy infantry fire, more or less. However, it is really good at basically carrying a machine gun up to the enemy and machine gunning them. So that is a good thing. That is pretty useful. And I have used the twin machine gun turret tank to good effect. But then again, it depends what you're playing against.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, if you're playing against Germans, then you're going to be up against a lot of armoured cars.
What if against Tiger? Ooh.
These guys will never meet a Tiger.
What, too early?
Way too early. Like 3 years too early.
So they should have kept it a little longer.
Yeah, there was another version of this tank which was basically, it had a heavy anti-tank gun in it. It was never actually produced. It was just a paper model, really. I think they made one prototype, they never used it. So these guys are just the standard tanks. They operated in units of 5, just like this. Typically they would have 4 light tanks armed with anti-tank gun and 1 tank armed with twin turrets. And the reason for that was so if enemy infantry started climbing all over your light tanks, this chap would be at the back and he would machine gun his own tanks.
And can't damage the tank.
Can't damage them, but he can hit the infantry.
Because they have the armour.
Yeah, exactly the same principle as the T-28 and T-35 combination for the Russian army. Did exactly the same thing. That's what the machine guns were for. Rear machine gun turrets and things like that. To machine gun infantry on the backs of your tanks.
Yep.
Pretty useful things. So yeah, that's pretty good. There's nothing really special other than the fact that your side and rear, if you're hit on the side or the rear of the tank, then the enemy get a +1 to penetrating you, which can be quite annoying, meaning that your side armour is only the same as basically an armoured car, and your rear armour, you're classed as an armoured car rather than a tank. That's because of the rivets used and things like that. So if you're actually hitting the flank, a Polish tank will not survive as long as, say, a German or Russian tank. So that is a downside when you're using Poles. You have to make sure you don't get flanked by anti-tank guns.
Which is why you should have infantry support or cavalry support and assistance.
Yeah, and make sure you give them a bit of infantry support just to make sure you don't get troops attacking your tanks.
Which is what you did.
Yeah, and also make sure you have the flanks covered, because if your enemy takes a shot from the side, you will get a -1 to your armour.
I do believe I fired, BT7, you fired in the flank of one of these.
Oh yeah, took it out straight away.
Took it out, but I did miss on the other 2, but I took out 1.
Yeah, but if you hit, that means you're technically a +5. So that means your enemy anti-tank guns become medium anti-tank guns instead of light.
Hitting you.
Ooh. Which is quite
painful.
Yes, that's going to be quite painful.
Oh, how's this a rear? Oh.
If it's a rear, you get an extra +1, so that would be +3 altogether. So you would be a +7.
Which would be a heavy.
Which would be a heavy anti-tank gun, yeah.
Bang, gone is a roll.
I mean, normally you only get a -1 for the flank, -2 for the rear, but in this case it would be bad.
So if you're rolling down the road and you didn't see the tanks hiding in the trees, you're screwed.
Totally. Which is probably why you need to make sure, if you're fighting Germans with all their little armoured cars, or their glorified armoured car tanks, make sure the Germans don't move on your edges, because then they will outgun you.
Which we did a tank battle versus Russians versus Japanese, and you faced all your tanks flank to me.
Yes.
So I could shoot all the flanks of your tanks, which is what made me win in the end. We get winning.
But imagine doing it against Poles, where you get a +1. Yeah. So that is the thing to look out for. So if you're playing Polish, either keep your tank to the rear so you can't be flanked, or make sure your tank's protected on its flanks. You don't expose your flanks to the enemy.
Yeah.
Because if you do, you're going to lose your tanks pretty quick. That's the only downside to them. It is a big downside, but it's just something to watch out for.
They have a good anti-tank gun.
It's got a good anti-tank gun, it's got a machine gun you can fire instead. The anti-tank gun's good, it's a +4, so that's pretty good against most things. Which one do you want?
Both.
Yeah.
And they have really good armour.
What?
They have good armour as well.
Of course, they're light tanks.
So you're better than a
T-26.
T-26,
Yeah.
which is the standard Russian vehicle.
Yeah, the standard Russian tank is a T-26. That's only classed as an armoured car. So the T-26 gets armour of 7. So it's just standard armoured car armour. Whereas this is actually a proper light tank. So it's a lot better. The crews tended to be very well trained, so most of your crews should be regular. You can get them as irregular in the book.
I would rather have veteran.
Yeah, the Poles did have veteran tank crew as well, because as I said, the one of the armoured units was used to, I actually saw combat in Slovakia, So you did have tank crews who had tank combat experience. And they were also quite well trained. They were quite well trained and drilled, so you can have veteran tanks, no reason why not. It will put you back a fair amount of points though.
Probably, yeah.
I can't get to the book right now because I've got a lot of stuff stacked on top of it. But
yeah, what a shame.
Honestly, I can do it without knocking all the figures off. Hang on.
Yeah,
if you hear anything crack on the floor, then it's all my figures have just fallen off, and the flowers are still standing. Thank you very much.
You did knock a figure over.
I knocked a figure over. Okay. So where are we? 70p will be. You can always tell the pages I use most in this book because they're the ones that naturally open up on. So here are the tanks with the 70p, and it's got. Oh, hang on. I can't read it that close. I need glasses. It will put you back 92 points for inexperienced.
It's fine. It's a good tank.
Yeah, but it is a good tank, and if you're going to be fighting in the rear, it might be worth using those points on something else.
Yeah, because if regular's not as good as regular.
No.
So I go for regular.
Yeah. So then you've got the regular, which is 115 points, which is what I usually use them for. So I've done the card up as a regular unit. That's the card I've got for them as a regular unit. I usually use that. Hence I have a card for it. Alternatively, as I said, you can upgrade them to veteran, which will cost you 138 points. However, your Polish infantry units are very expensive because they're very large units. They're 19-man units. So you're going to be spending a lot more points on infantry than you would normally do. So
you're probably not going to have a lot of tanks on the battlefield as much as the enemy.
Yeah, so you're going to be spending a lot of your points on infantry, so you're best not overspending your points on tanks.
But that's the good thing about Polish though, they get a free unit.
Oh yeah, of course, Polish, we've already done a video on them.
Yeah, we've already done a video on them.
You get a free unit of infantry, which kind of does offset the cost of the infantry, doesn't it?
Yeah, because that means you've already got an infantry unit, don't have to worry about that.
Yeah, so that is actually not a bad thing. So yeah, okay, it swings and roundabouts.
Yeah.
It goes both ways. You can also use for the Polish army the Vickers E-type light tank. Not the best tank in the world. They're used in China a lot by the Chinese. I wouldn't recommend. You're better getting these tanks. The Vickers is quite a bit cheaper, but it's nowhere near as good as this. And also the Vickers, I think, is only classed as an armoured car. So you may as well, this is actually a light tank. It gives you a +4. So
yeah.
I'd rather go with the, +7. +8, sorry. So I'd rather go with these than the Vickers. Renault FT, I wouldn't bothering with the Renault FT. They are rubbish. Renault R35, actually a good tank, modern tank, not too bad. And the H35, the Hotchkiss as well. You can use, but this is the main Polish battle tank, and it's a good tank. Don't let people knock it. People try and make fun of the Poles all the time, but this is actually a really good tank. And if you've got a Polish army, get at least one of these because it will make a difference to your games.
Yeah, or if you are going to up on this Polish army, get like 6-10 of them if you are serious about the early war stuff.
Well, it will be 10 because the working unit's 5, so it's 5 tanks.
Which is why you've got 5 there.
Which is why I've got 5 in this unit.
Plus 1, which is machine gun one.
Yeah, well, it's 4 normal tanks and the machine gun tank, which is designed to cover. Although I do tend to break it off. So.
You had no option at that point.
Yeah.
And you failed still.
Yeah.
Far range and moving.
So that's it. Thank you very much for watching the video. I think we've pretty much covered it. Over to you for your talky bit at the end.
So if you enjoyed this video, please do like and subscribe, and comment down below what you like about the Polish 70p.
Yep. They both actually, there's 2 70ps. This is the 70p, which is a 70p armed with an anti-tank gun, And then there's another one called the 70p, which is armed with 2 machine guns. They both had the same name. There was no actual designation.
Same armour, same everything, just different guns.
Yeah, but they were both called the 70p. There was no designation difference. It wasn't a 17PA or 17PB, whatever.
Couldn't afford to like change the name.
They just kept the same name, just different to it. I think it was new turret. They were nicknamed the ones with the big gun, but by the time the Second World War broke out, they nearly all had the twin turrets. There were only 20 odd left for 2 turrets because they divided them out 1 to 4. So one kept its twin turret, and all the other new ones were built with the main turret. So that's how they divided them out into the unit of 5. So that's it. So thank you very much for watching the video.
That's everything from me.
And everything from him. Goodbye.
See ya.